First thing we're going to talk about, and during the month of December, the rest of the month of December, we're going to talk about different topics. And this one today, of course, is in my book, Create. If you guys do not own this, I really want you to have it. It's not because I'm just trying to sell a book. I put a lot of time and energy into this book, more than you might realize, and really worked out how to up your creative skills, right? It's there for you to use. And the cool thing about it and the important thing is that at the end of every chapter, there's workouts, what you need to do to actually improve your creativity. So I'm going to talk about one thing out of this book, and that is how to get inspired. Well, we're going to start here with the Oxford, you can't really see that, look at that. Oxford Dictionary definition of inspire. You know, it's always good. I have this app on my phone and I'm always looking up words. My dad instilled this in me when I was a kid. He was always sending us to look at the dictionary when we used a word incorrectly, but more importantly, to find its derivation and where this word came from. Because that's where you get a big insight into our language, you know. And you'll be surprised where the word inspire came from. So first of all, it means to fill someone with the urge or ability to do or feel something, especially to do something creative. Isn't that cool? You get inspired, you get filled with something, the urge to do something, right? And then it's also create a feeling, especially a positive one in a person. You know, you inspire somebody else. I hope I'm doing that for you. That's my goal here. To inspire someone with is to animate someone with that feeling. And then here's what the derivation is. It's from Middle English, Old French, from Latin, breathe or blow into. Breathe or blow into. It comes from in, into, and spirare, to breathe. The word was originally used as a divine or supernatural being. Get this is important. In the sense of impart a truth or idea to someone. A divine or supernatural being. Well, isn't it true that we look at the great artists as kind of divine, certainly supernatural, certainly superhuman? Why do we go to these museums and see, for instance, the David in Florence? It's unbelievable. You look up at this statue and you just go, how did he do that? Carve that out of just granite, you know? So we go to museums to breathe in, to get that inspiration breathed into us. But you don't have to just go to a museum to get inspired. There's a lot of ways to get inspired. One of my favorite ways is to pull out my favorite books. This is one of them. Now, this is a double inspiration. So this is David Douglas Duncan, who is the photographer. He was a war photographer, World War II, and also covered other subjects, and one of them was Picasso. He actually photographed him over a 25-year period and became his good friend. And when I open this book, I just get inspired by a lot of things. Now, that may just look like a bunch of clutter, but here's the artist there. And everything about Picasso was a work of art, everything. He turned everything into art. Just, that's what inspires me more than anything. There's an example in here. I mean, this is his front yard. Okay, so if you can see that, he has a goat. Then he has his own, right here, sculpture of a goat. So his goat is tethered to the sculpture. Again, he was just like everything about this guy. So I'm inspired doubly, but I'm inspired by Picasso, but I'm also inspired by David Douglas Duncan's capturing. Look at that portrait. Not that one, this one. Now, that kind of defies all sort of portrait rules. You know, we're cutting off her chin, her forehead, you know. But it's amazing. We just see her freckles and the look of her face. This is real art here, folks. I pull this out often, but I pull out a lot of other books. And the thing is, you've got to breathe it in. You got to get it inside you to find your creativity, and that's what we do. Every photographer I've ever interviewed mentioned to me that their go-to source of inspiration was looking at other artists. Now, here's the cool sequence. Look at this. Talk about finding art in everyday life. So here he is eating a fish. What has he got left? A bunch of bones. What are we likely to do with those bones? Throw them out, get them out of the house so they don't stink up the whole house, right? What does he do? Pablo Picasso. What does he do with that? He goes to his studio. You see this whole cool sequence. First, he cleans the bones. Then he makes, see these here? These are clay, you can't see that. Anyway, a clay replica of a fish. Then he presses the fish bones in there. And then they come out. And then he paints them. And he paints a plate. And he ends up here. Can you see that? Voila, a work of art. So he took something the rest of us would throw away, get out of sight, get out of stinking up your house, and he turns it into art. Now that's just brilliant. That's something we could all learn from. Take those things that maybe potentially have that, it's going to smell up everything, and go for it. Like, one thing I recommend when you're out and about in the world is do what our good friend Leonardo da Vinci advised, which is to look at people, watch their expressions, not just when they're happy and smiling, but when they're mad, when they're sad, when they're bored. What do they look like? Take that all in. Take your little notebook and note that down, or take photographs, because we're trying to capture life. And we want to tell stories about life. And people aren't always best shown with a big smile on their face. Look at Annie Leibovitz. None of her photographs show the subject smiling. She actually never tries to get them to smile. She's just trying to see whatever it is that she can see in that person. We're digging into, we're trying to get beyond this sort of social mask that most of us wear when we go out and talk to people. What's beyond that? So there's another photographer I've been really inspired by, Annie Leibovitz. I'm inspired by almost every great photographer and artist in one way or another. Andy Warhol, just amazing work. I have a book, another book that I love, it's my go-to, is from the Museum of Modern Art in New York. And it's just got a variety of different artists, many photographers, but all sorts of artists, right, are in that book. So you've heard it from me before. Just remember, you got to breathe this in. And literally when you go, like my art school, the San Francisco Art Institute, you came in on the ground floor and then go down to the photography department. But on the way to the photography department was the painting department. And you would smell that amazing smell that only comes from that kind of paint. I associated immediately with that school. And there's the musty smell. It's an old building. There's that kind of musty smell, but then the smell of the paint just permeates that environment. You literally are breathing it in. And this is where you want to get out. You want to get out and breathe life. You don't want to just sit on your computer. You don't want to just think about stuff. This is the other part of it. One day I hope to be doing. Don't do that. Get out there and do it. Make it happen. One of the things I'm working on is a new book. It's not an instructional book. It's my photographs of the area that I live in, Carmel, Big Sur, the Central Coast here, and writings from myself. I've written a lot about this area, Jack London and another great author who lived here, Robertson Jeffers, a wonderful poet. I'm putting that together. I'm hoping to get it done by the spring. We'll see. I'm not in any huge rush. But, that's what's inspired me is this amazing place that we live. Please subscribe and enable the bell so you don't miss any of our new shows. Like the video and please share it and leave your comments. I love hearing from you. And remember to get out and capture your own images of life.